Hi, Tasha here with Emerge Sales Training, and our mission here at Emerge Sales Training is give hope, confidence, and skills to network marketers of all levels that want to help people. Today, what I'd love to talk to you about are the 3 reasons that you won't like my training on strengths. But before we do that, you may want to check out some of our courses, and you can check them out at emergesalestraining.com/courses. Okay, so why would I start any bit of content with 3 reasons you won't like my strengths training or training on strengths? So what I'm referring to is Gallup's content around StrengthsFinder 2.0 and then strengths-based leadership. And why would I start off like that? Well, I just think that you should know, because pretty soon here we're going to make a little course on it, and I guess I just want to level with you a little bit. So 3 reasons you won't like my strengths training. Number 1, I don't think that knowing your strengths creates customers. So the number 1 function of business is to create customers and to help them. And just talking about strengths and discussing them doesn't in fact create customers. And so we still have to do the things. We still need to set up appointments. We still need to recruit people. We still need to coach people. We still need to build team culture. Some other things that still need to happen regardless of strengths. We need to have a budget. We need to manage our time in a way that is effective enough based on our strengths, but we still need to do it. We can't just set aside the things that we need to do to help customers while we are engaging in this self-awareness process. And so StrengthsFinder work is a self-awareness process. It's professional development. It is not in and of itself a revenue-generating activity. So we need to make sure that we understand that. The second reason that you may not like my training on strengths is that I do think we need to be aware of our strengths, really, and I'll actually explain my strengths in a bit. We need to be aware of our strengths. We need to tip the scales toward our strengths. We need to spend more time working in our strength zone than not. I don't think we need to try to build our weaknesses into strengths, but we do need to know what they are. And so I think there's really 2 things we need to look at that are not just focusing on your strengths. The first is, what is our strength like when it's in a state of stress? And the second is, where are we low? What are our bottom 5? I feel like are just as important as knowing our top 5 after I've been working with this over the past several years and really intensely over the past few months, since a lot of my clients and a lot of our students have been working on strengths-based leadership concepts. So here's an example. There is a strength called adaptability. The meaning of adaptability is creating alternate ways to proceed. Now, when that strength is in stress, like, that's a good thing, right? But when that adaptability is in stress, what it starts to look like is, I just live in the moment. I'm not going to make any plans, right? Where adaptability people, they have loose plans that can be flexible. They're really, really flexible. But that's not the same thing as, I'm not going to make any plans and I'm going to show up late everywhere because I'm adaptable. That would be adaptability in stress. One of my strengths is maximizer. So maximizer is actually, by definition, an obsession with strengths. So what maximizers do is they are obsessed with making something that's already strong, making it superb, making it amazing. And that is a good thing in and of itself. However, in a state of stress, what I do is I just start maximizing every single area of the business and create chaos for everyone I work in, because to me, that's the answer to whatever is stressing me out. And so I just start turning up the dial on everything, and it's not a good situation. That would be my strength in stress. Now, the other piece is where we don't have strength. So our bottom 5. And so one of my bottom 5s is empathy. And I did a previous podcast on this, which is why your greatest weakness might be your greatest strength. So you can look that up. But I don't have the strength of empathy, which is really connecting with people's feelings and understanding them. And so in a lot of situations, that makes me kind of awkward, right? Where I could be face to face with someone that I'm coaching and they're really upset and they're really crying. I just can't even actually respond in an appropriate way. Now, I think that that's important that I understand that so that I can create a workaround for how I can handle those situations. Which leads me to the next reason that you might not like my strengths training is because I believe that sometimes you need to suck it up, even if it's not your strength. I do. I think that we should try our best to operate in the 80-20 rule, where 80% of our activity is focused maybe in our top 10 strengths. And the other 20% is just kind of stuff we have to do, whether you're good at it or not. And I just want to be careful that when I'm training people, if they're under my care, that it doesn't create this, well, that's not my strength, so I don't have to do it. So strengths-based work is specifically around focusing and developing your strengths and managing weaknesses. It doesn't mean you're not trying to turn your weakness into a strength, but sometimes you do need to manage it. And so I do think there are some times that you're going to need to suck it up, right? My last strength is adaptability. I'm not that adaptable. I don't like schedule changes and all that. But sometimes I just need to suck it up. Sometimes we just have to power through. Other times we can use a different strength. And so I have a client who's traveling this past week, and she had to change our appointment, which based on my adaptability, I don't like this. However, what I drew from was my individualization strength, which is I can see, each situation on its own. Was this meant to be disrespectful or not? And can I make this right? Can I make this adjustment? And because I'm a maximizer, I'm obsessed with strengths, and I'm trying to make this amazing client into something even more amazing. And because I can see these individual situations and individual people as standalone situations, as opposed to getting really upset about it, I was able to easily reschedule and not go into a state of stress. And for some of you, that might be funny, but that's kind of how non-adaptability people are. I also believe that no matter what your strengths are, we can do hard things. And so those are some of my thoughts on strengths, reasons that you might not like them. So then you're probably wondering, well, what do you believe about strengths? Well, let me at least explain my strength combo to you, because I think this will be helpful. My number one strength is strategic, being able to see relevant patterns. My number two strength is a ranger. So it's command of language and also being able to move things around, which complements my strategic really well because I'll move them around based on patterns I see. My number three is individualization, which means I really honor diversity in people and different strengths. Number four is learning. So I like to learn about strengths. And then my number five is maximizer, which is literally being obsessed with strengths. So I do actually have a pretty great combo to be able to coach the strengths. But in all the coaching I have, those are some things that I think not a lot of people would really pick up as they're working with strengths. So what do I actually believe? And how do I use this in coaching? And what do I teach our students to do? So there's a few things I jotted down. Number one, I think it's really important to know this is a leadership exercise. It's a self-awareness exercise. And so it increases our confidence when we know who we are and who we're not. It also increases trust with people we speak with based on who we are and who we aren't. That leads to increased retention, and that's really important. On the first point of increasing confidence, I think when our confidence is higher, we know who we are and who we aren't. We will show up more than we compare and despair and give up. And so I think that's really important. So second was increased trust by communicating it, increased team retention. Third, increased kindness, grace, and compassion for other people. So I used to get really, really frustrated with my husband because I felt like he would complain about everything. Until we unlocked his top 34 strengths and I realized positivity was literally number 30. I mean, that's kind of how he's wired. So I don't need to be mad at him about that. I just need to go, well, that's kind of just what's going to happen. And my job as his wife is to support him through that and be kind and compassionate and gracious, as opposed to, why are you always complaining? Which is kind of how I used to handle that. I'm not proud of that. I am sorry Charlie for doing that for a majority of our marriage. The next thing is to increase consciousness of our genius so that we can teach it. A lot of times, whatever our top few strengths are, we do it so unconsciously, it's like breathing to us. And so we would never just go to another human and say, you know what I think would be really helpful if you just learn how to breathe. Let me teach you how to breathe. To you, it's just breathing. And so we just do it. And so we think that it's a human quality as opposed to a quality that is unique for me. And I'll tell you how this has really made sense to me. So my number one strength is strategic, to be able to see patterns and make plans and anticipate that way, kind of create alternate paths to success. Well, what happened is I would ask people on my team to just be like, I wanted to empower them, right? I wanted them to have ownership. So I would say things like, oh, just, you know what? I trust you. You're smart. Go ahead and make the strategy. Well, the problem is if they don't have strategic strengths, that's a Herculean task for them. Now, will they suck it up and try to do it? Of course they will. Will they do the best job they can? Yes. But I was putting them in a state of stress, which was really, really not good. And so I could just remove that burden from them, but I could ask a question. Instead of saying, what's the strategy? What's the best way to proceed? Which is a strategic question. I could say, well, most of my leadership team has relationship superpowers. I could say, what's the best way to enhance the relationships with our students? Now, it's the same outcome, but it's a different question. And so there's kind of two pieces of that. First, I needed to understand what I do strategically, or what I do, not strategically, what I do like breathing, I need to start actually writing down so that I can bring it into consciousness so I can teach other people to do the thing that I'm strong at. A lot of people will say, oh, well, you're really strong in this, help someone else. But the problem is when it's your 1, 2, and 3 strength, you can't teach it because you don't even know what you do. You do it so intuitively. A number one positivity person could not teach my sweet husband how to be positive. They don't know. Being positive is just like breathing. And so we have to bring all of that into consciousness. What does the positivity do? So intuitively, then we can kind of map out a process, right? Relevant patterns. This is my strategic showing up. And then it'll be a lot easier to teach that to others. The other piece of it is I think that based on someone else's strengths, you can change the questions that you ask so that it really highlights their genius instead of puts them in a state of stress. So I mentioned that. As opposed to what are the different ways we can proceed, it would be what are the different ways we could build the relationships with our students. Same outcome, little bit of a different question, puts them in their strength zone and helps them to have just a lot better content. So those are my thoughts for today on strengths. Now we're actually going to do a special webinar, a special free training specifically on strengths. I know this is a hot topic. We're going to do it on Memorial Day. So that's Monday, May 28th. This will be a free training where I will give free training on strengths. Right now, the plan is 7 days to a strengths-based culture, team culture. Maybe I will change that by then. But either way, it's going to be really, really good. I've tested some of the content, and it's been really well received by different students and clients. So I want to be able to share that with you. You can register for that at emergeSalesTraining.com/free strengths training. And I also will put that in the description there so that you can sign up for that. You can share that with your team. So again, that is emergeSalesTraining.com/free strengths training. And that's it for today. I hope you have a great day.